So for the skirt was piece number N, and you should have cut 2 of your fabric. So what we're going to do now is we're only going to sew the side seam of the right side of the skirt. And then we're going to work on the rest of the instructions, which I believe is pleating next. But for the first step of the skirt, you're only going to sew the right side seam at 1/2 inch. So next we're going to do the hem. And it says to fold hem 1 inch up to the wrong side and stabilize it by using heat bonding double-sided witchery tape or top stitch it. So I have ordered and received the heat bond soft stretch fusible web adhesive that is recommended in the notions for this pattern, and so that's what I'm going to use to do the hem. So I'm going to measure up 1 inch, then I'm going to press the 1 inch up, and then I will add the fusible web adhesive once I have it pressed. So here I'm just measuring up the 1 inch, making sure that it's even, and then just pressing it. And then just moving down. Once I get to the right side seam, then I will add the web adhesive to the left, and then I will start again on the right side of measuring up the 1 inch hem on the right. So I'm going to do it in sections. I'm going to do the left first and then the right. So here I am to the center, the right seam. Let's get this in the frame. So once I get to the right seam here, then I'm going to stop, add the web adhesive, and then start on the right. So I'm just going to unfold the hem. So this is the 1 inch hem. I'm just going to unfold that. There's 2 sides to this. There's the paper side, and then there's the adhesive side. I'm going to take the adhesive side and stick it to the hem that I unfolded, and just line it up on the end here. And then I'm going to put my pressing cloth over the top of it, and we're just going to adhere this to the wrong side. I get a piece stuck here because it keeps coming off. So we're just gonna press this down until it sticks to that wrong side of the hem. And then we're just gonna move all the way down the hem until you meet that center seam, or until you meet that right side seam. And then we will repeat the process on the right. Once I get to the center, to the right side seam, I'm just gonna cut this and start pressing the right side hem up, and then I will peel this off in sections and then fold it up and then press it so then it sticks to both sides. So now we're going to start the process of peeling the backing off of the web adhesive. I'm going to peel it so far and then fold it over. I can still see my 1 inch mark line, and then I'm just going to press this again so that it adheres to the hem. just going to press this all the way to that right seam again. And you can see it's stuck now. I'll just peel the backing off. Find your 1-inch mark. That's why I ironed it first, so then you could see the crease in it, and then I wouldn't have to measure while I'm trying to iron. So the seam is already there. And now I'm at that center, at the right side seam where I cut it. So I'm just going to finish this off and then continue on the right side. So now the next step is to pleat the skirt. Each pleat should be about 1 inch wide. So I am measuring from one pleat to the next, and then pinching out that top part, pinching the bottom, and rolling it over to make a pleat. And then clipping at the top, and then adding 3 pins, one at the top, one in the middle, and one at the bottom, making sure not to catch the fabric underneath the bottom, because when you stitch the pleats down, you don't want to grab that fabric. And then once you get all of the pleats done, then you're going to baste the top, and then you're going to stitch down each pleat. So let's do a few more, and then, oh wait, I need to mark again. Okay, so I ran out of marks, so I only marked so many. So we're gonna line these back up with the lining on the, I'm using my mat here, and so I'm using the dotted line once on my mat. And I'm gonna use a marker that's going to go away once it's pressed, and then I'm just going to mark every 2 again until I have a few, and then we're going to pin those all together. Okay, so there's a few of those. So now we're going to take these 2, so there's one open here next to the one that we pinned. We're gonna take one, this is the middle, we're gonna use the other end of the marking, you're gonna pinch it out, and you're gonna lay it on top of that, make it meet with that first marking. Clip in the bottom, pinning the top, and pinning in the center. I hope that helps. Okay, so now that we have all of the pleats pinned, we're going to stitch them down. So you're going to stitch it from top to bottom. So what you're going to do is, I've already stitched one stitching here. So this one is already stitched. So I'm just going to unpin at the top And you're gonna take the one that you've already stitched down and you're gonna move it out of the way. So then you're not stitching the fabric underneath, and you're just going to stitch this all the way down to the bottom. I'm not back stitching at the top because we're gonna baste the pleats in at the top, and then once we attach it, then it'll be set. But as you go down, make sure that wherever you pinned, you remove your pin and keeping that fabric loose underneath the bottom, so then you're not catching the other pleat. And then when you get to the hem, you're going to do the same. You're going to unclip, but keeping your pleat at the 1 inch, and then you're just going to open that up and then continue stitching all the way down to the bottom. I will back stitch at the bottom just so that it's closed off at the end. And then this is what it's going to look like. And then you're just going to pin that back together when we go to baste the top together, so then that the pleats stay pleated. And then this is what it's going to look like when it's done. Okay, so now that every one of the pleats are, or pin tucks are basted, or not basted, are stitched from top to bottom, I'm going to put a basting stitch in the top to keep the pleats in place, and then I'm going to press each one of them so then they are where they should be. Right now they're open because they haven't been pressed, but once they are pressed, they should lay flat like this. So the stitch length I lengthened to 5, and it's just a regular basting stitch. So I'm just going to stitch the top of the skirt only all the way around, using the basting stitch to hold the pleats in place. Give you a close-up. So what I'm doing is stitching all the way to where it overlaps right here, and then taking the pin out, so then that way your pleats don't move. So stitching all the way across the top to here, to right here, and then removing the pin. So now that I have the basting stitch in the top of the skirt, I'm going to press each pleat from top to bottom all the way down. I'm going to use my pressing cloth because of the light fabric and because of the content of the fabric, so that way it doesn't burn. And pressing this many pleats is going to take some time. So, but what I like to do too as a little tip is, once I've pressed a set of pleats, I just like to take a clip and clip it back while it's still warm. It kind of helps set the pleats in. And don't forget to use your clapper also when you're pressing. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm pressing them using the clapper and then putting a clip on it, just so that it kind of sets the pleats in. And the fabric marking is still on my fabric because this is going to go away once it's pressed. I haven't pressed this side yet. So that's still my mark line as to where I'm pulling the end of that pleat over too. And then I'm just going to press the whole pleat from top to bottom and then clip it so then it stays in place. Okay, so this is what it's looking like right now. So I have basted the top, pleated it, pressed it, and then I clipped at the bottom. And so we're gonna let this sit overnight and then work on it again tomorrow. So the bodice is complete. The shorts are also complete. My blue tape just showed me which one is the front. It's still there. And then we just need to get this all attached together, and then this one will be done. So there it is, almost ready, almost finished. Now that all the pleats have been installed onto the skirt, pin the shorts with right side to wrong side of the skirt, and then you're gonna baste all the way around the top edge, making sure you have your front of your shorts and the front of your skirt. So that last seam that you stitched down, which was the left side of the seam, and then match that to the side seam of the left side of the shorts. Next, we're going to prep the waistband, which is the front waistband and the back waistband. So we need the last two pieces, which is piece I and J. And we are going to pin right sides together, right side to right side on both pieces, and then stitch the sides, so only the side seams. So you're going to take right sides to right side and pin at the side seams, so one front and one back. You're going to do the same thing to both sets, to the lining and to the fashion fabric. And then you're going to do the same thing to the other side, and then we're going to take this to the sewing machine and stitch it down at 1/2 inch seam allowance. So once you have the side seams of the waistbands pressed together, stitched together and then pressed, then we're going to pin around the top of the waistband only. That's the straight side. The side that has the point at the end, that's the bottom. So do not pin that. We're only going to stitch the top, making sure you're matching your side seams. When you're pinning. So once you have the two waistbands stitched together, you're going to press the seam toward the facing, and then you're going to understitch the whole thing all the way around. So we're just going to understitch. Make sure you're switching your stitch back. Step number 10 is attaching the waistband, the skirt, and the top. So now we're going to attach the waistband to the skirt. So make sure you have your straight piece, which was piece J, which is the back of your waistband, to the back. Piece I is the front. That's the piece that has the little diamond looking piece on it. Make sure that's in the front. So we want to put this on the correct way. So we're going to match the side seam of the shorts and the skirt that we've already attached to the waistband, with the right sides together. So I like to lay my skirt on the table, right side facing me, and then putting the waistband over the skirt, and then finding the other side and putting it in as well, and then pin it all the way around, and then we're going to baste this together. And when you're pinning, make sure that your understitching is going to be on the inside of your skirt. So when you pin your waistband, The understitching part of your waistband should be at the bottom. So when you fold it up, it's going to be on top now, but then when you stitch it, it's going to end up being on the inside. It gets pretty thick around here when you are putting the waistband to the skirt. So I've used clips instead of pins just to make it easier to make sure that I keep everything clipped together. So I've used lots of clips just to hold everything in place. I don't want anything to fall out of place while I'm basting it. So then once we go to sew it, it should line up perfectly with your bodice. So I know it's a lot of clips, but whatever works is what we're doing. And the last step is to pin the bodice to the skirt with right sides together. So I left my skirt right side facing up. I took my bodice and turned it inside out. So now the wrong side is facing me. I slipped the bodice over the top of the skirt. So this is the inside of my bodice and the front outside of my skirt. So once I pin this together and I stitch it, then it'll be right sides out. So let's get this all pinned, and then we'll take it to the sewing machine and stitch it down using the 1/2 inch seam allowance.